So, Mr. Richardson, as I understand the National Science Foundation, they take government money and then they dole it out in the form of grants to colleges and universities that then build censorship tools that big tech then relies on so that big tech has an arm's length away from the censorship that's shaping viewpoint. Is that essentially what your reporting concludes?
Essentially, this Track F program, which was through the Convergence Accelerator program, awarded these $750,000 grants to 12 initial projects, and then 6 of these continued on to have an additional $5 million in funding. Most of these are at universities. Some of them are private companies as well developing these tools, but they are all within.
Yeah, and Mr. Eisen, I guess my question to you, if you're done texting, would be like, is that okay with you, what NSF has done?
Put your microphone, please.
As a veteran of committee staff, I should know better. Mr. Gaetz, I have not had the opportunity to study the report.
Okay, well, let me go through some of the grant requests then. So the MIT...
Might I finish my sentence, please, Mr. Gaetz?
I've got
if I can
time.
just finish the sentence.
No, you were finishing your text earlier. I'm going to finish the question. So,
Mr. Gaetz, just for the record, I was asking for the law that governs that.
Rural communities are uniquely susceptible. I'd ask my time to be restored.
Yep.
Mr. Eisen, the question is, the MIT grant that said that people in rural communities were particularly susceptible to misinformation. Do you have an opinion on that?
I do have an opinion, Mr. Gaetz. As you know, there are 2 texts that are holy to me because Mr. Gaetz and I have talked before. One is our Torah, our Bible, that I live by. I'm an observant person. That is a holy text to me, and I have the deepest respect. And I have traveled to those places.
I guess the problem, Mr. Eisen,
can I please finish my answers? The other text that is holy to me is the Constitution. In my quick review of this report, those are my 2 holy texts, and I share that with the chairman and others on this. I know that. In my quick review of the report, it appeared to me that a great deal of the evidence related to legitimate sponsorship of scientific and technological research.
Okay, well, let me stop you there, Mr. Eisen, because here's the problem. While you indicate that the Torah and the Constitution are your sacred texts, if Americans indicate online that the Bible and the Constitution are sacred to them, the very grants that are being issued by the NSF would deem those people in a separate and diminished class, where they would be, it is precisely in the
Sir,
MIT.
I have the materials here. No, sir. I would request that
the
the committee release the testimony of Kate Starboard, the University of Washington scientist, the former WNBA player.
But that wasn't this grant. You're talking about a different grant, Mr. Eisen.
MIT
said that if you're rural, if you're part of a military family, if you view the Bible and the Constitution as sacred, then you're going to be, and you know why they said you're uniquely susceptible to misinformation? Because if you think the Bible and the Constitution are sacred, you might not rely on the expert class, right? You might not rely on all the folks in DC and at all the think tanks, and that's really what people have to rely on. And so when we're taking government money to go and try to harm people who have a particular religious view or a particular view on the Constitution, I would think that in that type of a circumstance, we aren't crying wolf when there's none at the door.
Mr. Gaetz, if we can talk about that material in context, if we can have the full context of the committee's investigation, the ranking member has said there are 29 depositions that this committee has taken.
This isn't about any of those. This is about when MIT wanted the grant that Ms. Richardson was just talking about, right? They went and made a presentation to NSF and they said, here's why you ought to pick MIT in order to do it. And it was to target military families, people in rural communities, people who believed in the Bible and the Constitution. And then guess what? With these AI tools, if you stack that up, maybe you're a person in a rural community who loves both the Bible and the Constitution. Well, then you're really susceptible to misinformation because the expert class thinks better.
No, sir. Have you seen the movie Minority Report?
Have you seen the movie Minority Report? Tom Cruise?
Yes, I have seen that
Doesn't
film.
this kind of feel like that? Yeah. That you're trying to do, that it's coming to life before our very eyes.
May I
because you've
answer?
got the government funding these predictive analytics to go after Americans. And here's what I think is actually true. It's not that military families and rural Americans and people who love the Bible and Constitution are dumber or uniquely susceptible to anything. It's just they don't think like how the expert class and the National Science Foundation wants them to think. And so they're trying to program what they see so they can control what they behave. And that is the true weaponization this committee will stand against. I yield back.